So, is WoW dying? Still popular to play. I haven't played in about 6 years. Just curious. Um, WoW, WoW, like other games, is going through, um, it's going through cycles. Okay, so let me. So, so it's not dying. I'll tell you that. The player base is too big for it to be collapsing. What happens is the audience, the WoW community either really, really likes the patch that we're in, or they really, really don't like the patch we're in. So it's very subjective in that way. So, and we were we were actually discussing this the other night. Is the question came up was, um, is WoW too seasonal now? Okay, to a point that is WoW seasonal. Like, do the community not like the WoW seasonal part of it? Is that not good? And and a lot of people would say yes. Um, that the seasonal aspect is bad. And a lot of people would say, well, the seasonal thing's good because then we get a breakup of content, things like that. My my suggestion for you to get back into WoW, you would have to tell me why you would want to get back into the video game at all. Like, is time, like, in what level do you want to establish yourself? So, are you looking to put, how much time and effort are you looking to put into it? You know, because that's going to determine my answer to you on um, whether to get back into it. So, because I think as you've taken a break from it, so obviously life without WoW is possible, and what we learn about ourselves in those breaks is a good thing. We go develop other skills. We come back better people, more competent people. So the question would be: is are you looking to be like a big raider, to where you're doing max level content, or are you going to be more on the I'm going to play this and not literally raid. I'm going to be in a guild, but maybe I'm doing professions, kind of doing whatever I want, but maybe a little bit of raiding, a little bit of competitive content. Um, so it's really a choice and a thought process you have to go through of what am I going to get out of WoW? What do I want to get out of it, and what can I do? The players are out there to be competitive. So, is the competitive scene dying? No, the competitive scene is there. The casual scene, and I say that loosely, the non-competitive. I'll say non-competitive. So the non-competitive players, they're always going to be there, and they're always going to just kind of do whatever they want to do. Okay, and that's the way it should be. The thing is what you have to ask yourself this question: what do I want out of my WoW experience, and do I have the time and the money, and do I have all the things that I can give to that to achieve that goal? If your answer is no, then you have two choices. Okay, if you don't have the time, and you don't have anything else to do with it, then you're going to play. You have to know that you're not going to um, reach this level of, basically, you're not going to reach this level of competitiveness that you normally would. Are you okay with not reaching that in playing the game on a competitive level? So Miss the game. I like to say option 2, just run around, level, have fun, go from there. Yeah, okay. Well, then you have to set your own goals and your own standards. Okay. Um, if you set your own goals and your own standards of what you want out of the game, and you know that you're not going to be super uber competitive, then you need to talk to yourself about that. And speaking of yourself like that, you're going to develop kind of what you can and can't do. For me to play this video game, I want to play at a high level. I want to accomplish my goals. My goals are to get AOTC as fast as possible. And then I have to say, well, what does that take? Well, that takes me having to grind content. That makes me have to do other things. Um, so yeah. So you just have to be honest with yourself, and what you want, and then be like, well, what do I need to do there? And sometimes the answer is, well, I don't know how to get there, and that's where I come, and I can help people kind of develop the mind, your thinking about, well, how do I get there? Because I've been there before, so.
It's too far away.
Um, but I think if you want to experience it, you've been gone for 6 years, so the game's different, but it's also the same. I took a very long hiatus. I quit at the end of MoP. I gave it up for a couple years and came back middle of Dragonflight. So, but the competitive scene is much better than what it was back then. So, like 5 years, like 5 or 6 years after the competitive scene was kind of envisioned in the end of the Lich King, Wrath of the Lich King, and Cataclysm, they finally gave us Mythic Plus, which is an infinitely scaling dungeon system. So, but I think if you just want to stay on the non-competitive side, I don't think you should have any problems with it. You might actually have a problem with, you might find yourself wanting to be more competitive, which is kind of like where your statement is kind of going, is just kind of see where it goes. So, do I think it? I think we to shine a light on the rest of your question of a kind of a macro view of gaming in today's society versus a decade ago or 15 years ago, is we have a very shortened attention span, and that shortened attention span hurts gaming, but it also helps gaming, because, and this is where I'm getting when I was speaking of seasonal things. I was speaking of seasonal things of good or bad, but what I'm really saying when I say that is, do the seasons match the attention spans of the player base? Okay, for good or for good or worse. Get back here. So, so, so I don't die. That'd be nice. So that's what I'm saying is the seasonal objective idea of hurting the game versus not being a seasonal thing, but the seasonal thing adds kind of like a rotation to things and puts a timeline that says, hey, during these 4 months or so, we're going to have this season, and whatever you can accomplish during that season, it just establishes parameters for a game that didn't need parameters and still doesn't. Because back then they didn't tell you when a patch was coming out. They didn't tell you when new content was coming out. They just dropped it. They just dropped it on you. Here it is. They might give you a little bit of heads up, but not really. So what they're trying to do with the season things is trying to fit, a 4 month season when people don't have the attention span for it. So they'll play it for 6 weeks and then drop it. or they'll play it for 10 weeks and drop it, you know, and accomplish your goals. That's why I'm saying, like, you need to go in with, this is what I want out of my WoW experience, and you can then fit your play style and what you do, time allocation, everything like that to that. So it fits all nice and neat. So, and obviously it's not that perfect. Obviously, if you want to have a guild and play with other people, you can have that as well. So there's nothing holding you back on that front. It's just so.
Isn't ready yet.
I don't understand.
Health warning.
Right. It takes
Health
time
warning.
to be more competitive. So, you're welcome on the input. Thanks for the question. That's a good question. It's a good thing to think about. But also realize this, man. At the end of the day, you could pick this up for 6 months. You could buy, you know, a 6-month subscription, and you could find yourself in other things. You could find yourself in WoW Classic. You could find, like this. You could find yourself in retail. You could find yourself in Season of Discovery. You know, your WoW subscription now does multiple things. Okay, and so do realize that as well. You know, and then for the competitive part, that is just you setting goals for yourself, and then those goals should be looking for a guild to where you can share those goals and make those goals a reality. That's where I come in. That's where I try to ask the hard questions for people, because they don't necessarily think of it that way. So, but good question. Very good question. I hope my answer helped you kind of bring it together a little bit. So, but to reiterate, I do not think WoW is dying. I think that anything you hear about such things is a cyclical version of the shortened attention span of people in today's world. Yeah, but those are doomers. Like, they're trying to clickbait you. Like, oh wow, you know, WoW's down, woo. Like, the servers are still up. People hold their subscription. People do the same thing with Netflix. Okay, they watch for a month, and then they cancel, and then they go to a different service, which in this case would be a different game, and they do the same thing. Okay, and it's all based on a shortened attention span. It has nothing to do with the game at all. It has to do with, I want to play this for a very short amount of time. I want to get my ooh and ah out of it. I want to get blown away by everything WoW is, because WoW is that. And then I want to go over here and I want to get that same feeling out of this other game, which is great. I think you should play multiple games. I think you should be well versed in you should be well versed within the games that you play. Even if you like the same type of games, I think you should diversify yourself and have fun with multiple genres in multiple groups of people. I think we learn better. I think everything is better when you do that. But I think also that holding your WoW subscription while playing those games is a bad idea, as long as you can say it's not a waste of money, you know, because that's really what it comes down to, time and money. So, and, you know, you need to, that's why I started this conversation, but you need to define your goals and what you want WoW to give you. You know, what do you want your WoW experience to be? And then work towards that. You know, the same thing with other games. It doesn't matter what. It could be Diablo, okay? what do I want? Do I want to get hardcore? You know, do I want to be normal? Am I satisfied with that? Am I not satisfied with that? There's questions you gotta want. What you don't want to do is be like, at the end of the day, when you did this as a hobby, okay, and a fun thing, you don't want to be like, well, I wasted my time. Because if you feel like you wasted your time and your money, then that just means that no one had fun, and you should have been doing something else with your time and money. You should have went on, like, and these are the questions you have. So instead of playing this game for 6 weeks, you should have saved and used that money to then go on vacation, or you know, build a computer, do some other hobby, go hiking, you know, whatever else you do for fun that's past video games. Like, video games is only one aspect of people, and I think people forget about that when they're playing one, because the version of yourself that you are in this video game is different than the version of yourself necessarily outside of it. Okay, when you're doing other things, you know. So, you know, and you can see that a lot because people are inherently themselves. Don't get me wrong. People are generally nice and cool and kind and, you know, all those things. But your professional self versus your casual self, like just hanging out, relaxing, they're kind of two different people. They approach problems differently. Same thing with this, is like, if I want a relaxed feel to WoW, then I'm going to have a relaxed feel, and I'm going to have relaxed goals. If I want to have a competitive thing with WoW, then I'm going to have competitive goals and a competitive mindset that goes along that. It's not necessarily negative or positive, it's just different. So, and unfortunately, sometimes that gets misconstrued, and sometimes the WoW community feels left out, like they're not getting as much. But in reality, they just have different goals. So, and with those different goals, they have different ways of attaining them. So. But yeah, so it's a great question because it's very, it's dense. There's a very people, today's society answer to that of short attention span. So, good question.